بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم. Read the new lesson. Yeah, we will starting. Okay.
قال لا تجوز صلاة ولا عند قيامها في الظهيرة ولا عند الغروب رضي الله عنه قال ثلاث اوقات نهانا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم ان نصلي فيها او ان نقرا او ان نقبر فيها موتانا حتى تنفع عند زوالها حتى تزول وحين تضيق لغروب حتى تغرب.
Okay. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي على رسول الكريم. Chapter the فصل chapter في الأوقات with regards to the times التي تكره فيها صلاة مكروه is صلاة is مكروه, it is reprehensible, it shouldn't be done in that time, right? So we discussed the permissible times, right? Then we discussed the mustahab times. Allah Ta'ala give us tawfiq. Now here we're going to discuss the makruh times, the times you should not be reading your salah. So just to understand, when we say something is makruh, it is not as severe as haram, but the side of not doing it is better. If I say this is makruh, then it's better to leave it out than to do it. And then that is also divided into two categories. One is makruh at-tanzih, the lighter form of makruh. And then you get makruh at-tahrimi, the heavy form of makruh. Generally, in the Hanafi fiqh books, when the word makruh is mentioned, it refers to the heavier form of makruh, right? Now, what I want to draw your attention here, لا تجوز الصلاة عند طلوع الشمس. Here you get lat, it is not permissible. And if you look further on, you see this about وَيُكْرَهُ أَن يَتَنَفَّلَ بَعْدَ الْفَجْرِ. Right? Certain times salat is not permissible and certain times it is makruh. Why do you understand within the difference? Why is it different in words? You tell me. Loud? Yeah. So here which is la tajuz, what is the implication of that word? So where it says la tajuz, it means that even if you do it, it does not take place. Even if you do it, does not take place. So when these times that we are going to discuss here now, even if you read your salah at that time, your salah will not take place. Like look at the first ibarat you read. La tajudu salatu inda tulu'i shamsi. Salat is not permissible inda tulu'i shamsi with the rising of the sun. I explained we discussed this. When I say rising of the sun, what do we mean by rising of the sun? The moment the actual sun appeared on the horizon, a portion of it, then even if you read a salah, it is not done. It is not valid. If you read a nafil namaz at that time, it is not valid. It is not. If you made a qadha namaz at that time, it is not valid. It does not take place. You understand what I'm saying? That is the implication of la tajuzu. Unlike tukrahu means it takes place, but with a great deal of reprehensibility. You understood that? So la tajuzu salatu inda tulu'i shamsi. Salah is not permissible with the rising of the sun. That is why after the sun popped up, again, I mention this every time, I mention it again, we're not speaking about the rays, we're speaking about the brightness. When we speak about Tulu'u Shams, what do we mean? Where the actual sun is seen on the horizon. So if you are reading your Fajr namaz, say just a simple example, Fajr comes, the sun rises at 6 o'clock, and you started at 2 minutes before 6, and you finish your salah while the sun was already on the horizon, tickets. What's it? Tickets, you have to read it again. If you read a nafil namaz, not valid. If you read a qadha namaz, not valid, right? So la tajuzu salatu inda tulu'i shamsi. Salat will not be permissible when the sun pops up and it appears on the horizon, right? Wala inda qiyamiha fi dhahirati. And not also when its literal translation, when it stands up in the afternoon. You know this, we discussed, I told you, the sun starts, rises in the east, goes across the horizon, sits in the west. So when it pauses in the middle of the sky for that few minutes, when it pauses in the middle of the sky for that few minutes, they also, if you read any salah, it is not done, right? You decided to read your adhan namaz, not done, right? You with me? Wala in the ghurubiha, and not when it starts setting. So again, what's the setting of the sun? When the actual portion of the sun in Urdu, you call it the tikya, or in the Arab, we call it the kursun. Once the kurs start on the horizon, you cannot read any salat except the asr of that day, except the asr of that day. And we'll give you the reason later on. So you can't, if you read a qaza that time, it's not done. If you read a nafil that time, it's not done, right? Right? ولا عند غروبها. And what's our proof? لحديث عقبة بن عامر. There's a hadith of عقبة بن عامر. قال ثلاثة أوقات. Nabi said three times. Rather, Uqbat ibn Amr said three times. Nahana Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam an nusalliya. He prohibited us. You not permissible. You can't read your salah there, right? أو نقبر فيها موتانا قبر means to, or we will not bury. Later on will come that here by bury means refer to read the salah, because obviously burying doesn't have anything to do with, right. So عند طلوع الشمس حتى ترتفع. Once the sun started rising on the horizon in the dush, حتى ترتفع, until it rises, right? It goes high up, and Ulama explained at least about 15 minutes after sunrise, right? وعند زوالها حتى تزول. So you're supposed to be, I tell you the correct, إن استوائها حتى تزول. But maybe they just use it like it. When it sits, when it is stagnant in the sky until it starts moving again, then you can read. And obviously there's the entry time of Zohr. You can read your sunnahs of Zohr, you read Qadha namaz. وحين تضيف للغروب حتى تغرب. And also, when it sets, وحين it تضيف للغروب, it lowers down for the setting حتى تغرب, until it sets completely, right? Then he's saying والمراد بقوله وأن نقبر صلاة نقبر صلاة الجنازة. That's the ism. And what is intended by أن نقبر, and you not bury, what means صلاة الجنازة. It is the salat of janaza. You cannot read it. Yes, you can bury at that time, but not read the right. لأن الدفن غير مكروه, because burying at that time is not makruh. It's fine to bury, so it refers to janaza, right? Now, Hazrat Imam Shafi got a bit of a different opinion. Hazrat Imam Shafi says that in Makkah to Mukarramah, you can read Salah anytime. There's no prohibited times. And also you can read Nafil anytime. And he got his proofs here. Maybe I can just read it for you. Imam Shafi's proofs is this. He says, Man nama an salatin aw nasiya falyusalliha idha dhakaraha. See the hadith says, whoever sleeps away from Salat and then he remembers, فَلْيُصَلِّهَا إِذَا ذَكَرَهَا. He must read it when he remembers it. فَإِنَّ ذَلِكَ وَقْتُهَا. So he's saying, see, this hadith is general. Whenever you remember, even if you remember it in a prohibited time, you can still read it. You understand what I'm saying? Then there's another hadith, he says, يا بني عبد مناف لا تمنعوا أحدا طاف بهذا البيت وصلى أي ساعة شاء من ليل أو نهارا. The hadith goes like this. أو بني عبد مناف لا تمنعوا أحدا طاف بهذا البيت. Do not prevent anybody who's making tawaf of this house, right? وصلى, and he reads salah at any time which he wishes, in the night or the day. So Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is telling this tribe that's in charge of the haram, don't stop people from reading salah. Let them read whenever they want to read. They say, see, if this shows you can read any time. So obviously the understanding here is that doesn't mean you can read any time. In other words, give them carte blanche to read when they want to read. You understand what I'm saying? So our proof, we say, see here, this hadith which we quoted, it is general, right? See, والحديث حجة على الشافعي في تخصيص الفرائض مكة. In its generality, it is enough to make specific the hadith of Imam Shafi. Look here, you don't stop them from reading salah, but in the permissible times. And these are not the permissible times. Like I tell you, one day I say, I'll give you an example that you can go there wherever you want, whenever you want to, but Nalama said don't go between 3 and 4. So that between 3 and 4 is explanation, right? So when Nabi Sallallahu don't read Salah at these times, it means it's making specific that you can read any time, but besides these times. You understand what I'm saying? So it's like a tafsil, right? So we're saying, والحديث بإطلاقه أو hadith which is general حجة على الشافعي is a proof against Imam Shafi'i في تخصيص الفرائض بمكة in saying that Makkah you can read the faras anytime when you are there, right? And in fact, he also said you can read the sunnahs. Let me give you the details of his madhab. Yeah, he says first namaz is even permissible. And yeah, so he's saying, and in Makkah, you can even read your nafil at that time, what your farz. And I quoted this two hadith for you, which you mentioned, right? Another Imam, Abu Yusuf, he says that on the day of Jummah, at the time of Sawal, you can also read nafil. But again, our general hadith will be a proof against that. You understood that? وحجة على أبي يوسف, and it's also a proof against Imam Abu Yusuf في إباحة النفل in permitting nafil يوم الجمعة at the time of Jummah وقت الزوال at the time of Zawal, right? It's also a proof against him, right? So we say you can't read any salah at this time, not done, right? ولا صلاة جنازة. Okay, carry on reading from there.
ولا صلاة جنازة بما روينا ولا تجوز تلاوة إنما في معنى الصلاة إن عقد يومه عند الغروب.
Right. So while the general salawat are prohibited at this time here, also salat janaza. While the sun, I explain what the sun is rising, you can't read your salatul janaza until hatta tartafiya becomes the height of a spear. Exactly on zawal time, you can't read salatul janaza. And then the other one was zawal time, and then when the sun sets, you can't read, as the sun begins dipping on the horizon, you can't read salatul janaza, right? Lima rawaina, because what we narrated that you must read salah and janaza is salah, so you can't read janaza also, right? Wala sajdata tilawatin. And also you can't make sajda tilawah at the time. So if you are reading Quran exactly on zawal time, you can't make this, you read a sajda ayat, you can't read the sajda, make the sajda immediately. You have to wait till the makruh time pass, right? لأنها في معنى الصلاة, because this is in the meaning of salah. In other words, janaza namaz and sajda tilawah is the same like salah. So it will have the same conditions, like how for janaza salah you have to have wudu, you have to be in a clean place, all this stuff. To make sajda tilawat, you must have wudu, etc., right? Right? Illa asra yawmihi in al-ghurubi. So we told you that you can't read any salat at these times. It's not valid, but there is an exception to the rule. The exception to the rule is this here, that if the sun started setting already, listen nicely, is important masla. If the sun already went below the horizon, but you never read your asr for that day, you can still read it. Actually, there's two scenarios. One is you started your asr before the sun started setting, and during your namaz, it dipped below the horizon. Fine. There's the first one. The second one, it already started setting. A portion of the sun is already below the horizon, and you're starting, your asr is done. Now, what is the reason? This is different to the masla of sunrise. Sunrise, if it, once it started rising already, you read your asr is not done. Or you were reading you were reading your fajr and popped up on the horizon in a small portion, you have to redo it. Or even you started after it popped up, it's not done. There's more latitude in the maghrib masla or the asr masla. Why? This is the reason. I'll tell you the reason. See, I'll explain first before you derail. Look in the kitab. See, we mentioned to you that when the sun, just like 20, 25 minutes before the sun set, that is a makruh time to read any nafil. Oh, well, you can't read nafil namaz after asr as it is, but it's a makruh time for your asr of that day. And also, we told you that you can't read any qaza namaz with a makruh time. Why is it a makruh time? It's a makruh time because I tell you in previous days, people who worship the sun, right? People who worship the sun. So Shaitan, he in his greed for fame, what he would do is he would stand in front of the sun in such a way that as though the sun is shining between his two horns. There's a hadith that says this, right? So people are worshipping the sun, but it would appear that they are worshipping Shaitan. And like this, he would make himself happy. That was his promise. لأقودن لهم صراط المستقيم ثم لآتينهم من بين أيديهم ومن خلفهم وعن أيمانهم وعن شمائلهم ولا تجد أكثرهم شاكرين, etc., etc. So this is a makruh time. What is it? So it's a makruh time. Now, remember that. The next thing I want to show is, look here. I told you before that what is actually makes the salah wajib upon you. You know, it's experiencing that time. If I pass away before Zohar time today, Zohar is not wajib upon me because experiencing the Zohar time, that is what makes Zohar wajib upon me, right? So what we're saying is just before you read your salah, that experiencing the time, that is your sabab al-wujub. That is the thing that makes the salah wajib upon you. Are you with me? Right. Now, this is a makruh time because I told you shaitan, etc. So the time when you read your asr, say you read your asr 20 minutes before sunset, it became wajib upon you in a makruh manner because the time was makruh, right? So since the salah became wajib upon you in a makruh manner, if you discharge it in a deficient manner, it's fine because it never come wajib upon you in a complete manner. That is why we say, if you want to make qadha of the old salah, you can't make it that time. Why? Because that salah became, you see what we're saying is, if say for example, asr time is from 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock, the moment you just read it salah, that moment, the second before that, that is your sabab al-wujub. That is the cause for it to become wajib. But if you miss the whole time, then we say the whole time, if you miss that, you never read the mass. We say from 2 to before, that whole time becomes your sabab al-wujub, right? So when you miss your qadha namaz of a previous day, that whole time from 2 to 4 becomes your sabab. And that sabab is complete. The reason, the sabab, we say the reason for compulsion, that is complete. And now you're reading it in a makruh time. So a salah that became wajib upon you in a complete manner, you are now discharging it in a makruh time. Hence, the qadha namaz at that time won't be correct. You understood? You are discharging in a deficient manner something which has become wajib upon you in a complete manner. So coming back to our masla, why do we say the asr is fine? The asr is fine because just before you read your salah, that moment is the reason for your wujub. And that moment is already a makruh time. So that means salah became wajib on you in a makruh manner. So even if you discharge it, so long as you just started it before the sunset and you discharge it in a deficient manner, it will be done because as it is, the sabab is also makruh. You understood that? So that is the reason. Now, the same doesn't apply to Fajr because before the rising of sun, there's no makruh time. So your sabab is kamil there, your sabab is complete. You understood that? So see, illa asra yawmihi in the ghurubi. So the asr of the day, that will be done even though it is a makruh time. Why? لأن السبب هو الجزء القائم من الوقت. That the reason why the asr became wajib upon you, هو الجزء القائم. It is that moment of the time, that moment, that second before you read it, right? Right. لأنه لو تعلق بالكل لوجب الأداء بعده. So we're saying that that moment is the moment which it became wajib upon you, and since it became wajib in a deficient manner, you can discharge it in a deficient manner while the sun is setting. So they're saying, if we say the entire time, what we're saying here is, we're saying that entire time, that is a sababul wujub, right? We're not saying the whole time of from 2 to 4 is a sababul wujub. Because if that whole thing was the cause, that means you couldn't read the salah time in that time. You had to wait after the salah time. So that's proof to show you it is just the moment before it, which is the sabab wujub. You understood that? So لأنه, because لو تعلق بالكل, if تعلق means the sabab, if the sabab was related to the whole time, we say from 2 to 4 o'clock, experiencing that whole time, is what makes it wajib. La wajab al adaw ba'dahu. That means you couldn't read Asr in Asr time. You had to wait till Asr time is finished, and then in Maghrib time you had to read Asr. So the fact that you can read Asr in Asr time shows you what? That moment just before, that is your sababul wujub. That is the thing that makes the namaz wajib upon you. You understood what I'm saying? You understood that? Right. And when you become so what he's saying is, as you enter the salat time, that sabab wujub comes upon you. And then you don't read, it drops away and a new one comes. It drops away and a new one comes. It drops away and a new one comes. Until when you read salat and the one just before that, that is your sabab wujub. So if Zohar time comes in now at 1 o'clock, so the moment before Zohar, that time is demanding from me, read salah, read salah. I don't. So the next moment is coming, read salah, read salah. And when I do eventually read it, then the moment just before which I read it, that is my sabab al-wujub. Right, you understood that? But if I never read the salah at that time, then we say the whole time becomes a sabab al-wujub. You understood that? Right. So see, ولو تعلق بالجزء الماضي فالمؤدي في آخر الوقت قاضٍ. So if we say, like how we saying here, that's just the moment before that, that becomes your sabab al-wujub, then ولو تعلق بالجزء just the moment before, right? فالمؤدي, what is مؤدي or مؤدى? Yeah. So that means the person who is reading salah in the makruh time, في آخر الوقت قاضٍ, he will be the one that is discharging salah because it became wajib in a naqis manner and he's discharging it in a naqis manner. That's if we make it just a moment before, right? So, وَإِذَا كَانَ كَذَلِكَ, if it is as such now, that just the moment before you read it, that is the sabab al-wujub, and the sabab al-wujub was naqis, فَقَدْ أَدَّاهَا كَمَا وَجَبَتْ. So as though he discharged the salah in a deficient manner, like how it became deficient, wajib upon him. You understood that? بخلاف غيرها من الصلوات. But contrary to the other salat, right? لأن وجبت كاملة فلا تتأدى بالناقض. That means if you want to make qada of another day's salah. So we'll say, like I told you, when the time of salah enters, that moment just before that, that is your sabab wujub. But if you don't read the salah, then the whole time becomes your sabab wujub. From the entry time of the salah till the exit time. So, say for instance, you never read Zohar yesterday, and now you want to read, make qada of Zohar in the naqis waqt, in the deficient time, the makruh time. So we'll say it's not done because that whole time was your sabab al-wujub, which is a complete sabab, and here you're discharging it in a deficient manner, in a naqis manner. So you can't discharge the salah in a naqis manner when it became wajib upon you in a complete manner. You understood that? So they're saying, so why the qadha namaz will not be correct at that time in that 20 minutes before, right? لأن وجبت كاملة, it will become wajib on your complete manner with the whole sabab wujud, right? فلا تتأدى بالناقض, so it will not be discharged with the naqis. Understood it? Is that clear? That is a bit complex, but this discussion comes also, it will come in hadith books also, it will come in Bukhari, when you do next, it will come in Tirmidhi, right? والمراد بالنفي المذكور في صلاة الجنازة وسجدة التلاوة الكراهة. So they're saying here that these salat, if you read them, we know we said la tajuzu, etc. Right? Yeah, if you go back, we said like la tajuzu salata in the tulu'i shamsi wala in the qiyami, etc. It won't take place at all if you read a salat at that times. But when we speak about not making والمراد بالنفي المذكور في with regards to صلاة الجنازة وسجدة التلاوة, here we say this is different from the other salats. Here it will take place with a degree of reprehensibility. So if you made janazah salat, the janazah came and it was ready, and you made exactly at the time of zawal, or exactly at the time when the sun was rising, or exactly when the sun was setting, then that will be makruh, but it will be done. To be done in a deficient manner. You understood? That's what he's saying. Not the other salat. The other salat won't be done at all. You understood? Like if you read maybe nafal namaz, or you made the salat of the day, or you made qaza namaz, etc. Right? It will not be done at all as the sun is rising, sun is setting. Are you with me? Right? حتى لو صلها فيه, and to such an extent, if he read, the janazah was ready, it came and it was zawal time, or the janazah just came as the sun already began rising, or the janazah came just as the sun was setting, right? So they decide to read it, or as you were reading the Quran, you read a sajda ayat during Zawal and you read it, right? حتى لو صلى فيه أو تلا سجد فيه وسجدها جازا. It will take place. But we see there, right? Al-Qarahatu, right? لأن أديت ناقصة, because like I told you, this سبب وجوب. So similar to like how the asr of the day, it became wajib in a deficient manner, and you are discharging in a deficient manner, so it's okay. The same thing, the janaza salat was present at that moment, so that means janaza salat became wajib that time. And so the sabab wujub is also naqis, and you are discharging in a naqis manner, so it's fine, understood? لأن أديت ناقصة, right? It has been discharged in a deficient manner, كما wajabat, like how it became wajib, the sabab was wajib. So why is saying إذ الحضور بحضور الجنازة, إذ الوجوب, because janaza namaz becomes wajib بحضور الجنازة, when the janaza come there. So the janaza came there at the time of zawal, and you read it, so it became wajib in a makruh manner. You say it is also done in a makruh manner, right? And بحضور التلاوة, you recited the verse at that makruh time. So it became wajib upon you in the makruh time. So it will be, you discharge in the makruh time, so it will be valid at that time. You understood that? Right. ويقرأ أن يتنفل بعد الفجر حتى تطلع الشمس وبعد العصر حتى تغرب. It is makruh for you to perform any nafil namaz after the fajr until the sun rises. وبعد العصر حتى تغرب. So what he's saying here is this here. Once the fajr time enter, right? Sorry. Well, after you read your fajr namaz till sunrise, there is no nafil namaz. You can't make nafil namaz. Yes, you can make qadha namaz. Right? حتى تطلع الشمس, until the sun, 15 minutes after sunrise. That's what it means. حتى تغرب. We discussed this earlier, why we say the Hanafi say delay your asr, because once you read your asr, you can't make nafil namaz. So rather delay it so you can make more nafil namaz. So again, I repeat, after asr, you can make qadha namaz so long as it's not the makruh time. But you can't make any nafil namaz, right? حتى تطلع الشمس وبعد العصر حتى تغرب, and after asr till the sun sets. Why? لما روي عنه عليه السلام نهى عن ذلك, because Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam prohibited from that. He prohibited that you read nafil namaz. So see, there's two things here. One is at the exact time of sunrise. One is the exact time of zawal. One is at the exact time of sunset. There, so far, what we've done, no salat is done. It's not even done. It won't be considered to be done, except a janaza salah and a sajda tilawat, right? Then we're speaking about the time after asr. That's the second category. The time after asr, you read your asr salah till the sunrise. And the second time is the time you read your fajr. So you read your asr till sunset. You read your fajr till sunrise. There you can read nafil namaz, but you can't read nafil namaz, but you can make qadha on that one. So you must differentiate between the two. Okay, tomorrow is Friday, so our period tomorrow is about 9:30, about 25 to 10. Friday tomorrow, ne? We will continue with this, inshallah, tomorrow. Inshallah, once we finish the whole discussion, I'm going to encapsulate everything nicely for you to show you what is the prohibited time, what is the makruh time, what you can do. But as we're going along, we're showing it to you. So the sunrise, sunset, nothing at all, except if the janaza came there or you recited then nafil namaz after you read your fajr till sunrise, after you read your asr till sunset, and then you can read your qadha namaz after that, so long as in the asr time, it's not when the makruh time, when the sun becomes weak. We stop there, we'll continue tomorrow, inshallah. But subhanallah.